Hello, everybody, and welcome to Take Your Time, a Persona podcast where we play through Persona 3 Reload in real time, along with the in-game calendar dates. My name is Tom Merks, joined as always by Jonathan Dornbush. Jonathan, how are you?
I'm good. I'm always glad that you get my name right every time. I know you're saying it with the O, like I can hear it in the inflection, so I appreciate it. And it means a lot to me. But I'm doing well on this full moon week. Ooh. Don't worry about my logic.
I just got confused by that because I was like, did I say Dornbush by accident or something?
Jonathan Dornbush. Hey everyone, it's me, Jonathan Dornbush. No, actually, to remember the O in my name, because I went to school with another Jonathan in elementary school. All my friends who I guess you could question whether they were my friends, would just call me Jonathon. Just all the time. Jonathon. Hey, Jonathon. I was like, I don't like that.
Like marathon?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Well, now that's just going to be stuck in my head, but...
Well, that's for your next week intro.
I promise I won't. We've got a great week this week. We had a full moon and a doggo friend. It's just it was a great week.
What more could you ask for?
I don't know. Not much, to be honest. If you can't enjoy this week, what's wrong with you? This isn't the
game.
No.
Yep.
Yeah.
Find another game then.
No. But no, it is a big packed week. I'm very excited to talk about it. I'm very excited to dive into the latest full moon, the new party member, all that sort of stuff. Also, before we dive into it, let's do some housekeeping. We're going over August 4th to August 9th today, which you should have already known if you played along with us. But if not, there you go. Also, talking about the Patreon, patreon.com/takeyourtime, we put a poll up to decide our next bonus episode, and we decided it. The poll was leaning, I believe, Jonathan, last time you told me, it was leaning towards this idea of we're going to talk about what games, movies, series, whatever that we think the fun way to put it would be need personification. Basically, Persona treatment with a day system like this, social stuff. What games or series or whatever IPs would be fun to do that with. So we're going to talk about that. And that episode should be coming probably shortly after this one, somewhere in that range.
We hope, but yes, that is far and away the winner for this month's choice. And I can't wait to talk about 60 Minutes. I think I've got a really good pitch for you on how it could work as a Persona game. But yeah.
I mean, I'm into hearing that pitch, to be honest.
Oh no, now I have to think of something.
Well, if you want to hear that, you can always go to patreon.com/takeyourtime. Support us there, like the following people do. The folks at the Palace Ruler tier, our biggest supporters. We like to do the confidant call out at the beginning of each episode to say thank you for so much support and for giving the show such love week after week. So those people are Akechi is a Jelly Bean, Astral Clock Tower, Brody S, Cameron C, Claudia R, Dallas, Damon, Dan F, Danimal Lover 01, Default Titus, Dexter, Goro Akechi, Keegan H, Michael V, Philip S, Programmer Sid, Sam K, Sarah M, Shade, Willie Wang Wang, and Zachary L. Thank you very much, everyone. We really, really do appreciate it. And again, you can go to patreon.com/takeyourtime if you'd like to support us and if you have the means. But either way, no matter what, we love having you here. We love having you listening, and we love having you leaving us comments, letting us know you're out there. Like with this week's pop quiz. Jonathan, you said we got some good answers for this week, right?
We did. We have a variety of answers, so unfortunately I don't think everyone can be correct. But if you want to remind us of the question.
I did ask for your best guesses. The question was, you can have this conversation with Junpei last week about, he says, boy, first we got a robot, and then we got a dog on the team. What's next? And he kind of suggests a hilarious idea. And so I was asking, what does he suggest is going to be next? What did people say?
For the correct answer, is it a gorilla?
It is a gorilla.
Okay. Partial credit then over on the Patreon to Murph, who said, what next? A monkey, which is, within the realm. And then...
I don't know.
It's close enough.
In my frame of reference is Magic the Gathering, and ape and monkey are two different creature types.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, When are we doing our magic spin-off shoot of the show? But anyway, Quiritic, or however, forgive me for the pronunciation, did get it correct on YouTube. We did also get some other guesses, which I appreciate, and they run the gamut from vampires to aliens, and I believe there were one or two others in here. Let me see if I can find them. But certainly, I would like a vampire on the team.
I would say those sound too far-fetched, but literally the other things in the list are robot and dog, so it's,
It wouldn't be that weird.
No.
As we'll learn about them later, Strega, the head, he gives off some vampire-ish, some vampire energy. So, Mitch also guessed a cat who isn't a cat. Just thought I'd throw that one in there. Or a dinosaur. But yes. Yeah, it's a motley crew. So yeah, why not just keep adding in? I don't see an issue there.
I would also like gorilla. I think gorilla would be fun.
Like, are you talking Gorilla Grodd style, like super hyper intelligent, or like just a gorilla?
Not hyper intelligent, but sentient.
Okay.
Sentient sapien.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you to everyone who wrote in. Appreciate it as always. Should we do it?
I think we did. Yeah.
Should we do this
Apologies
thing?
if I've missed anyone else. Sable had guessed vampire. I want to give the credit where credit's due for the vampire. But yeah, that's and Francis was on alien. But yeah, that's about it there.
Yeah, great. Let's jump into the week and start with August 4th. August 4th, which is just a day of free time. The full moon comes a few days into this week, and we had a shorter week, right? We only did 6 days instead of 7 this week, so we can split it nicely. Next week we're going to do 8, but we'll talk about that at the end of the show. Yeah, what did you do today? It's just I think there was basically nothing today.
I think it was just a very summer vacation day. Like, we are in summer vacation, right? That's happening.
Finally,
I think.
Yes. But not for very long, apparently, as we learned this week.
No, definitely not. Who did I hung out with? Suimitsu and got him to rank 4 because I know how invested you are in his storyline. So I wanted to make sure I'm keeping up with him. But yeah.
I hung out with the old couple and got to rank 7. I'm kind of glad that I've had a good excuse to go back to them because I left them at 6 for a really long time.
They are a good couple. I'm excited to talk about them when you've completed them because they were one I finished pretty early on, so I've got a good memory of that. But yeah, looking forward to talking about them. But yeah, that's normal day.
Evening,
what did I do? Oh, I watched a TV show with Yukari, and I got another new thing to happen. Did you get
with Yukari?
Yes.
Whoa, that's
Did you
not
get
what I expected.
any of these things to happen this week?
Yeah, so I watched TV with Yukari today. And didn't get anything to happen, but then later in the week I did.
Okay, well, we can
with Yukari.
Do you want to wait until you get to yours, or do you want to talk about them now that you know what they are?
We can wait till I get to it. It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't want to tell you what that second one is, but you should go for it if you know what the first one is.
Okay, I mean, yeah. Well, let's just talk about it. So if you hang out with these people enough and do these socially things that I thought were just for funsies items enough, you get what do they call it? A battle characteristic? Is that the name?
I believe that's the term. Yes, yeah.
Which basically is just sort of a passive ability, right? A passive extra ability that you get with them in combat that is pretty substantial because the one I got from finishing, I did the cooking with her later, and I got the one called Healing Master, which just makes all of her recovery skills cost half as much SP.
Which is incredible.
Yeah,
like
really
what
good.
A boon. Such a useful thing. Yeah. Which is why I told you to go after that one early, because I think it's just such a handy tactic.
So does that mean that each of their things you can do with them, if you get to the end of that storyline, you get that characteristic? Is that how that works?
You mean if you complete a certain storyline, do you get a certain thing? Or
yeah.
I believe it's just these unlock sequentially.
Okay.
Do you want me to tell you what the second one is?
I want that to be a surprise.
Okay, that's fair. Because I didn't want to hint too much at these last week. I hope me saying that a thing happened didn't take too much
No.
of it away for you, because
All it did was make me want to do these things a little more. And I will say, once I hung out with Yukari, and then when I hung out with her again later in the week, it does tell you that it's going to happen. It says, hey, you might get a new ability if you hang out with this person again.
it's not shy about letting you know these are coming once they're in the mix, but
Yeah.
I didn't want to telegraph it too much if you didn't know, because I remember the first time this popped up, and to your point, like, oh, I thought I was just doing these fun hangouts to maybe get an extra item, up my personality, and get to like know about the people, because it is rewarding. Like, I do think some of these hangouts are some of the best written side content in the game. I think they're pretty fantastic. And so then to get on top of it, the surprise of, oh, I get a really good battle benefit now also is pretty cool.
Well, these are abilities for people who played P5. You know, this is stuff that would usually be in social links, right? You'd usually be sort of unlocking these things in that sense or in that way. But the funny thing is, I still have Tanaka and, oh my god, Mutatsu in the evening are both on 7 for me. And now immediately I'm looking at these evening hangouts going, I should do every one of these as much as I can.
Yep. Yeah, that was a big turning point for me too. I had a similar reaction where that's honestly why I have not been focusing on them, because I'm like, I can get to them in due time. But the hangouts, once you know these are an option, it's like, why wouldn't I want to do this? Without spoiling it for reference, I think most people have 2, not everyone, to my understanding, looking at a guide. But it will let you know if you're still able to get another one. It does also do the thing of, I don't think they will get anything out of this sort of thing.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, it's really useful. Yeah.
Yeah. So we both watched TV with Yukari that night.
Yeah.
And that's the day. So let's go on to the 5th. I think we probably both did the same thing during the day. I'd be willing to bet.
Go for it. What'd we do?
Did you hang out with Hayase?
I didn't actually.
Oh, what a twist.
Yeah, I hung out with Maiko.
Why? No. I'm kidding. I like Maiko.
Tom hates little kids. No, I mean, that's the sensible thing to do. It was honestly just because I was on the screen of the mini map. I saw Maiko would level up. I had the right persona. I was like, let me just go. Let me go do this. And so I just went.
I get that a lot. I've definitely made choices of who to hang out with based on just what persona do I already have in my inventory so that I don't have to go to the Velvet Room right now.
Exactly. I did hang out with Hayase later in the week, so like if you want to touch on it briefly, feel free to. But
yeah, so you can hang out with Hayase at this point, and there's I think another point later on that you can also do this. And you basically, this is this scene where you compete to eat food, the most food quickest with him, pretty much. The takoyaki. And you end up tying him, right? Which he takes as a loss. And then you get the social link, which is the star. And then he runs 100 laps around the city to make up for it. And suddenly you realize, oh, I get why this guy is unbeatably fast now. Yeah.
That's commitment.
But they sort of establish him as a sort of rival role, right? You're that role of that trope of you're each pushing each other to get better, and he's fairly friendly though. It's not very it's not confrontational, even though he's very aggressive about it.
Yeah, he wants to beat you, but he's not also like, I hate you so much and will defeat you. It's nothing like that. It's just he, I think, likes the idea of having someone who can even come close to him, because I guess that just hasn't really been a factor in his life, as we're all used to, I'm sure. And so he is just, I think, happy to have someone like this, and this is probably the closest to a friendship on that level that he has had. So yeah, I get it.
He is a little full of himself.
Oh yeah,
but not in, I don't know. I have a feeling that, again, I don't sense jealousy or bitterness yet. I think what you're saying is correct.
Oh yeah, I'm very much talking about this first moment. We'll see where it goes, but yeah, that was what you did, and I did Maiko, rank 5. So cool. Yeah, nothing crazy.
I then spent a lot of the day selling stuff and upgrading all of my equipment and getting ready for the full moon. But what did you do that night?
I cooked with Sonata because I realized I haven't been hanging out with him too much.
Me too.
Nice. Yeah.
We made pork liver.
I think we might have also. Yeah. Yeah. Good times.
Cool. Well, then let's move on to the meat of this week, which is the full moon on the 6th. Ooh. So you go straight to the dark hour. You skip the entire day. It says you're staying home to conserve your strength. And we go right into Fuka, a conversation with the group in the command center or command room. Fuka detects a shadow, but detects it 10 meters underground. And this is where we learn that Aegis has a full database of the city, but it's 10 years out of date. So she knows all of these things, like the fact that there used to be an old military base down underground near where Fuka is talking about. But we don't know, if that's actually relevant now or if her data, because her data is not up to date. But lo and behold, you go to this underground base, and this is where the shadow is, underground in a military base. But also, oh my God, I just looked at my notes. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to do my notes for who shows up, and I was trying to write down their names to make sure I actually remembered their names.
Sure.
But it auto-corrected so it says in my notes, you go there, Takoyaki and Jin show up. Takaya.
That really brings him down a peg, if you want to call him Takoyaki for the rest of the show.
It does bring him down a peg. Yeah, Takaya, who is the creepy vampire man, and Jin, who is the nerdy green dude, show up. It's a trap. They lured you here? I don't know how they knew the shadow was here or how they got it here. That part is unexplained. But they knew you were going to be here. And they do, as you alluded to, they say that people call their group Strega. And they explain their whole evil plot. Not that there's much of an evil plot. Like, this is the thing I actually do really still appreciate about these villains, is that, once again, they're not trying to destroy the world right now. Their evil plot is literally just, hey, we like having these powers. They're Persona users too, they say.
Yeah.
Or you figure out. They say, we like having these powers. We don't want to lose them. You guys are stupid for trying to get rid of them.
Yeah. It's a pretty reasonable motive. Like, that's a... from a character standpoint, whether or not you agree with it, obviously, it's like, I would very much assume there would be some people who get power, don't want you to take that power from them. Yeah.
It is a far more relatable motive than a lot of RPGs sometimes give their villains.
Yes.
Right? Not saying every RPG, but sometimes the villains can be very melodramatic, over the top, trying to take over the world, Pinky and the Brain style, just sort of big. And not that there's anything wrong with that. That has a great time and place, and that can make for great villains. But these villains are very down to earth in terms of what they want and why they want it.
I mean, so were Pinky and the Brain. They're very small, but I see your point. I was going to say what I do really love here is that they talk about how they're known as Strega. And without context there, it's like, known by who? Like, do you guys have a fan group that calls you Strega? Have you filed as a small business? Like, who is calling you Strega, or is that a thing you call yourselves?
Yeah.
I do just like that they have
a
group name. It's just very funny to me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is the first confrontation, which is kind of wild.
There's a couple things where we get insight into the differences between your group and their group, in that, like, you say, don't you know what will happen if we leave the dark hour? And Takaya's like, yeah, shadows will cause major disasters for humanity, but regardless of if shadows cause major disasters, there will be major disasters. It doesn't really matter, right? It's just that instead of tornadoes, right? Is basically his point, which again is sort of a psychopathic thing to think, but it's also sort of understandable, right?
You can see the line of thinking. Yes.
Yeah. It's not good line of thinking, but it definitely is not just like, I'm a crazy person who wants to destroy the world.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he's like, or I think also Jin is like, plus, don't you guys enjoy having this power? Don't you want to keep it? And there's this really eye-opening moment where the entire group, except for Akihiko, who's silent, the entire group is like, everyone's like, we don't enjoy doing this. We are not having fun going out and risking our lives with these powers every night. We just have to do it because someone has to in order to help the world, which is, I think, it's a really nice that they had that moment, because it so separates your group from the villains, your group is very reluctant about doing this stuff. They just know they have to. It goes along with that line I called out from the beach trip where Yukari is like, now that we have this power, we can't look away from the things we don't want to look at, right?
I think it's a great moment to get a sense of where everyone's head is at collectively. Like, obviously, to your point, we do know a few of the more specific character focuses here, but this is definitely, I think, the first true moment where it's like ideology A versus ideology B. Here's where they clash.
Yeah. And then, rather than taking out the gun that he has and shooting you with a gun, they close a big door and leave.
As you do. Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry. I just thought this was very funny. I definitely thought someone was going to get shot or we were going to fight them or something. And instead, he just closes a big door and leaves.
It is a very villain thing, though, to be like, let's see how you fare. Shuts the door.
Yes, Mr. Bond, I have this laser slowly drifting up towards you that will destroy you in a matter of minutes.
See where this
now
is where...
I will walk
go
into the other room while that laser moves and assume everything has gone fine.
You say Bond, my mind goes, yes, Mr. Powers, of course. And yeah, Dr. Evil would be like, here's you with a tank of sharks with laser beams attached to their heads. I'm going to leave now. So they leave you to get ostensibly killed by the shadow, sort of, I guess, forgetting that your whole deal is killing shadows. Do they know what level I am? Like, are they kidding?
Yeah.
Losers.
You sort of brush this off, though, and say, you know what? We'll figure out how to get out of here after we deal with the reason we came here, so let's go fight this shadow. And you run through this sort of abandoned military base full of dusty things and knocked over boxes. There's an incredible moment because you can walk up to all the boxes, right, and the stuff on the side, and it'll be like, this all looks like overturned yada yada, and it's sort of uninteresting. But then there's one little alcove, I don't know if you did this, where you walk up and there's like a skeleton on a bed, and it's just a human skeleton on a bed.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, you get the line, and I wrote it down because it's so funny to me, that skeleton used to be somebody. That's heavy.
It's a dark area. There is like a little note you can also pick up that is pretty dark about the war, essentially, and this is the closest to, and I'm stretching here a bit, but this is the closest to a full moon having almost like a palace or dungeon-like area to it, where it's like we're going through an area, we're getting a little bit of sense of the space and also collecting things. Like I would argue in the hotel, we were not collecting things as much as we were here, to my memory.
No.
But it's like here there are items, there are those smashable things. It's like almost a little bit more of an evolution in that direction to a certain degree. Very lightly so, but it's like, yeah, you get an understanding of this place, and this was a dark space. Like, this is not a good place to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thematically, it rules. Again, just like the Love Hotel, I really wish that this had been like the train where you were fighting shadows on the way, right?
It's all at the end, yeah.
I don't understand why the first full moon, obviously besides the very, very first one, the first sort of excursion full moon where you're on the train, had these mini fights leading up to a big boss, and now these other ones that are also dungeon-like haven't. It confuses me. I'm bummed out by it a little bit, but it's not a major thing. That's fine.
It's definitely one of those things where I, again, am putting it in the context of when it came out within the franchise. Time-wise, years have gone by in between it. And it's like very much you see where the series goes from here.
Yeah, but they put them in the first one. Why did they put them in the train and not here?
But I guess to some degree, they would also have to ensure those fights are interesting. Because for me, I'm also okay if these nights are just focused on the boss battle, if those other fights are just there to take up time, you know? Like if they were just there to, don't get me wrong, I wish.
No, you're right. They would be just basically filler. I guess I just like that filler.
I get the sense of like progression that gives you. So I totally get where you're coming from there. But I think for me, it's just like, especially because now that we have all these Tartarus levels that we've gone through with interesting boss battles, certain hooks to them, if these didn't have them, it could start to feel lacking, I could see. But I totally get where you're coming from.
You eventually get to the boss, and I did really enjoy this boss. I thought this boss is really cool. Again, visually, thematically, the fight is one of the more interesting boss fights we've had yet.
Yeah.
Because you face this shadow that's just a tank, straight up tank, fully a tank. And Fuka says that she's sensing both the Justice and the Chariot arcanas, and that the shadow must be hiding in the body of the tank in some way. And obviously, not to, draw this out too much.
Sure.
You do, when you use a Theurgy attack, it is actually two shadows, and they split. And the shadows together are resistant to every kind of attack and have no weaknesses. And the shadows split. There's the little angel guy with a big cannon who is resistant to magic abilities.
He's resistant to magic, I believe, and then the other is resistant to physical.
Yeah. And so you have to, and the other one is the body of the tank, who's now stood up and has a little smiley face and little adorable arms on the bottom of it. Well, I was going to say, in the sort of central mechanic of this fight is that you can actually deal damage to them when they're split, but if you kill one of them, the other one will immediately on its turn revive that one with some amount of health, although that amount of health diminishes the more times you make them revive, which is very friendly. If you accidentally kill them, they're not going to just fully pop back up with even more health. And then at some point they recombine, and then you got to use a Theurgy again to split them. And when you split them, their health, when they combine, their health pools, and when you split them, it directly halves. So if their health is really low when they're in a single thing, they'll both be really low when they split again.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting fight mechanically, because you're not just trying to spam your Theurgies, you're trying to charge them up and right to time them nicely, to split them again. You're trying to use the right abilities on the right people, and then also time when you're trying to kill both of them. It's interesting. It makes you actually think and consider what you're doing in a very nice way.
Yeah, there is a deeper strategy to this fight that I really appreciate, and it also then is really impacted by your team, which Brody over at the Patreon did ask, since they said, with this full moon fight, I wanted to hear who you brought with you and what sort of strategies you all use in this fight. But also, if I may, I did forget Brody's answer to your pop quiz, and I do feel like it's worth reading out if you don't mind me jumping in at a climactic moment with this. But Brody said, I'd say that Junpei thinks that some Takayaki will join our team because he really likes stealing mine out of the fridge. Which is a great diss.
That's a good guess.
I brought Yukari, Aigis, and Junpei.
Okay, I brought Yukari, Aigis, and Mitsuru.
Okay, cool.
Or did we talk about this last week? The harem team?
No. They say that gets said.
If you use that team in Tartarus and are just walking around Tartarus, I guess at some point will be like, oh, it's like all women on the team. Is this what some men call a harem? And then they'll start talking about harems.
Yeah.
And about how like every man on the planet wants a harem or whatever. And it's like, what? It's like a really long conversation. It's like at least 6 or 7 dialogue lines.
We didn't
really
talk
wild
about it because I didn't get it because I didn't use that combo, but I did my last time around, and I did remember that happening because it's a very long conversation. Like it's not just a one-off line.
Most of those conversations or those lines are like 1 or 2, and this is like a whole conversation about
You can
that.
run a whole floor, and you just get everyone talking. Yeah, it's Yep, yeah, and I disagree because that sounds like a lot of work, I guess. But it's a good team.
I harems aside, that is the team I used. I wanted, Mitsuru is good damage. She's got that freeze ability. Yukari has good healing, and then I mostly just thought Aigis might be, sometimes games like this will make the boss right after you get a character weak to that character or something. So I just wanted to try her out in that context, and I don't think it went badly for doing so.
No, obviously, especially since you have one of the bosses being okay with physical, she's great to focus on there. It's kind of a battle, at least like for me strategy wise, where I sort of divvied up my team, where it was like Aigis was just, once they were split, always focused on them. Junpei was always focused on the one he could deal magic to, or I would sometimes flip-flop him because he has a couple physical attacks. And then Yukari was my winder healing person.
The other thing about this fight was I was surprised. This isn't necessarily a criticism. I've been surprised by how easy the bosses have been so far. and maybe I'll eat my words going forward because we are still, only at roughly the halfway mark of the game. But I was doing so little damage to the tank when it was combined that I immediately was like, oh, I should not waste abilities right now because clearly some phase is about to come that is going to change things.
Yeah.
And then that did, and then I was surprised by how much damage they were taking after that swap. So I was just a little surprised by how kind of quick it went. I wish it would have been a little bit harder, but also I know that's a dangerous thing to ask for because there's nothing more frustrating than a really brutally difficult, grindy boss fight too.
Yeah. I get where you're coming from with this one. I think for me, it's the fun of figuring out the trick to it. Is at least in this version. I don't disagree with you that on the whole, the bosses have been pretty easy, at least on I know we're both playing on normal. And I do remember, forgive me who, but I do remember someone talking about the first boss battle actively having a harder time management issue on the first one. So there might be other considerations if you go to hard with these other bosses. But I do appreciate that this one really is about figuring out the trick to it and the strategy of how best to conserve and use your theurgies and to split up your party's attacks. And so I do like that once you figure that out, it is unfortunately the trick. So if it belabored the point, it would be pretty frustrating to what you were saying. But I do agree with you, like on the whole, not the toughest once you know what you're doing.
Like, I guess I completely agree with what you're saying. I think a good example of what I mean is I accidentally killed the little flying guy like 3 times.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
like I would use an attack and it would overkill him way more than I thought it would.
Totally.
Multiple times. And so that was more what I meant of like, it's easy to just do a little bit more damage than I was expecting in that fight.
Yeah.
But again, really cool. To your point about figuring out the trick is really cool in this one. It's a very, very neat fight.
Yeah, I do appreciate what it's doing, but I agree with you. I also, both times I've played this game, the little guy dies like 3 or 4 times per battle for me. Yeah. It just happens. So I totally get what you mean.
Yeah. So you defeat this shadow. You get the cards for both the Chariot and the Justice Arcanas. Interesting point of order.
Yes.
I don't know literally how long this game is, but we now have 4 more of these major shadows to go. Again, I'm talking no spoilers because I have not played it. 4 more of these shadows to go. Counting off the month, that's September, October, November, December, which lines up roughly with what I'm expecting based on other Persona games. Interesting to me that we got so many doubles in a row. I thought they were going to divvy up the doubles a little bit more, right? I was expecting them to have these double fights, but mathematically speaking, there wouldn't be another one. But again, I don't know what's coming. So I'm excited to see kind of how that goes, what happens there. Yeah. And that's the fight.
Yeah.
And then kind of a slightly disappointing thing for me happens, which is you call Akutsuki, and this is from Akutsuki's perspective, and you tell him what's going on. You tell him about Strega. You tell him that you've been trapped there, and he goes, oh, okay, cool, I'll send someone to get you out. And then you just go to the next day. Like, I was expecting finding our way out or a re-encounter with Strega or something, and it's literally just like Akutsuki says, oh, I'll send someone to go get you, the end.
Yeah, he's our little Deus Ex Machina right now. He just swoops in, helps us out. Yeah, I think it comes down to the point of, especially at this point in the franchise, like world exploration outside of the daytime. Obviously, there's stuff to explore in the day, but like that is not the core kind of what you're doing. No. To a major extent. So, yeah, he calls Mitsuru, or you call him. Mitsuru mentioned Strega. He's kind of confused about other Persona users, and I was like, yeah, I'll get you out. The end. Goodbye.
Yep. But it's a cool, again, you get some plot stuff this whole full moon. You get some plot stuff. You get a cool fight. You get a cool location with some little bits of story and exploration stuff. Some nice, it's a good full moon. Yeah. It's not, and now that I've fully sort of reset my expectations in terms of these are not palaces, this game came out 15 years ago or whatever, this is a really good version of whatever this is in my eyes.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's by now you get a little bit more of an expectation of it, where these things aren't the always where the biggest story beats are happening, where it's not the same thing as Persona 5, which is obviously our expectation. So yeah, totally get where you're coming from. And yeah, it's definitely in the top 2, I guess, for me of the 4 we've done so far. Is it 4 or 5? I don't know how math works.
I think this is the 4th.
Well, April.
Because 1 at the beginning, then 1, then 2, 2, 2?
We defeated 8.
Yeah.
Okay. But
yeah.
So you counted up to 8 on your hand there, which wasn't the number I was trying to count up to. Yes, but how many does that lead to the months that we've done?
Oh.
This is great podcasting.
I'm an art major. I was an art major.
That's fair. I use my phone. Moving on.
Let's go to the 7th.
Yeah,
we just kind of go back to a pretty normal day of free time.
Yeah.
You don't really talk much about this at this point in the week. So what did you do during the day?
This is where I hung out with Hayase.
Oh, okay.
So,
and I hung out with the old couple again. So I got them up to 8.
Nice.
And then this was the evening where I hung out with Yukari and got Healing Master.
Okay, cool. Right after the boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There'll be more.
It happens. It's but yeah, what a useful power. I believe Francis in our someone did. I want to find the correct person who said I didn't give credit, but Francis said the Yukari thing is very useful. It basically turned her into an irreplaceable element in my team, which I very much get because the cost of healing from her, when it's that much lower, it's hard to pass up. Especially
out of combat.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So now you just have free healing. Media is half as much or whatever for the entire team. That must be really, really good.
Yeah. And then my evening was an in-between with Mutatsu. So not leveling him up, but just getting him primed for the next one. Yeah.
Cool. And then that evening, hey, how you doing?
My best pal, Pharos. How's it going, buddy? Great to see you.
Pharos shows up, says good job on killing that shadow, and then also says they keep remembering things about the end of the world. So he says that the end isn't going to happen because one person causes it. He says the end is going to happen because there are going to be many who wish for it to happen. And you can sort of say, that's not true, or be like, wow, you can go along with it or whatever way you want.
I did like the third option where you could be like, are you stoned? Is everything all right now, man?
You good?
Yeah. Do you need to talk to someone?
Yeah. Should I call your mom?
Yeah.
Yeah, so interesting thing. Again, not anything we can talk about really. It's just alluding to or kind of hinting at what's coming. And then he says, I remembered one other thing. And I wrote down this quote because it's worth talking about because it's very prophetic. It is prophesizing to a certain extent. He says, soon the flowers of poison will bloom, 3 in the rival garden and 1 in your own. So, obviously, Jonathan, you know too much, but my interpretation of this was flowers of poison is bad.
A reasonable take, I guess, there.
The 3 in the rival garden read Strega to me. 1 in your own means something bad is going to happen with one of your party members, whether that's they turn on you, whether that's they turn evil in a different way, whether that's they die, I don't know. But that was the implication is Strega bad and going to bloom soon, and also one of your party members might betray you or something. I don't know.
Which makes me have to ask you, place your bets. What is the one? Put a stake in the ground.
It's the dog.
You think the dog is going to what?
Turn into a gorilla.
All right. Well, that is our official.
My guess, my genuine guess based on this is a temporary betrayal of some kind rather than a full betrayal. A party member breaking off because of some drive that they have at their own thing, and then eventually causing problems and then eventually coming back to you.
Okay.
My assumption is that it is either Aigis or Akihiko, and I don't necessarily know which one yet. Okay. Akihiko, because he was silent when Strega was asking people if they had fun, and he's very been much about, like, getting as strong as he can be and wanting to fight. What is he fighting for? You know, Yukari said, like, you don't care who you're fighting for as long as you get to fight, right? So they've been sort of teasing him as maybe he just cares more about the fight than the cause. So maybe they could develop that into something more. I guess because we don't know anything about her, and we, you know, she could have some shady... She's a literal war machine. She could have some shady past that we don't know about, or programming that we don't know about that might cause her to flip or something. Sure. I don't know. My money is more on Akihiko there, but I'm not, like, fully confident in anything. That's sort of just where my brain has led me in all of this.
No, totally get it. Not expecting you to know what happened, so genuinely just kind of wanted a read of, after hearing that, which is, on the whole, I would say perhaps not the subtlest of teases of something to happen, where kind of your brain, and I don't think it's meant to be, obviously, but like where your brain was at of what it might mean.
It's also not as direct as some teases, in that, like, you know, there have been things in this game, like the Yukari being like, man, my dad, boy, he sent me this letter 10 years ago, you know, where you just immediately can kind of piece together largely what's going to happen. This is definitely a tease where, like, I don't have a good sense of what's going to happen, but I love that they are giving you something to look forward to, right? Even if it's a bad thing, they're giving you something that's like, hey, something's going to happen and you should start paying attention again. Because otherwise we risk losing a little bit of momentum if we don't really know what our goal is right now.
Yeah. I would say, you know, I think we've talked a little bit about how I do think this game has done a really good job. And I think you're pretty much on the same wavelength of, like, in these short-term moments of, like, the momentum of kicking things back up and introducing these really interesting moments when it gets going, even if it stops and starts. But I would say arguably, like, the bigger picture, other than, like, we're going through Tartarus and now we're trying to, you know, get rid of these shadows, there's not, like, a ton of stuff to that other than those bits of information at this point. So yeah, I like that it's planting seeds like this. And to your point, like, of your potential targets, it's not like Akihiko and Aigis have been standing behind you with, like, a knife while you've been eating and just go, oh, sorry, I meant to go cook. That wasn't a threat. Like, it's not been anything like that so far. So but I do like that it raises your alarm bells intentionally, which is fun.
If I had to go full wild guess, that's probably not true.
Go for it.
I would say Akihiko runs off to do his own thing or betray you in some way, loses his way, and then Shinji only joins the team to bring him back to the good side, and that's the thing that brings him back.
Okay.
But that, again, is like... And that's also the thing that gets Shinji to join your team. But that's, again, no idea. And if I want to go even crazier, Ken is a sleeper agent.
Oh.
And that's why he's drinking coffee at 8 p.m.
He's secretly 45 years old. And is,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. From his Russian KGB.
That conversation with Pharaohs ends with rank 5. You get up to rank 5 in the Death Arcana. And then it just goes to the 8th.
Yeah.
And boy... The 8th is a busy day for being just a day of free time.
Yeah.
So, first of all, Elizabeth tells you the path in Tartarus has opened, so you can already go to the next area in Tartarus if you want to. Mitsuru talks to you through the door very adorably and tells you that they're going to have a meeting in the command room tonight, but kind of is a little bit cryptic about what that means. Then you get you can go buy soul spinach at the vegetable shop, which is very exciting because I assume that's an SP item. You get a million bajillion requests from Elizabeth that took me 45 minutes just to get through one of the ones I already... That's an exaggeration, but, like, I spent so much time just on, like, submitting the requests I already had. And, man, it was annoying because I could talk to Elizabeth and she'd be like, I don't have anything to say to you. And then you'd back out of the menu and then immediately there'd be an exclamation point over her head and you could give her curry or whatever you needed to do.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you wanted to touch on any of the requests.
We don't have to touch on them directly. Okay. It's just more sort of, they did that one little sort of, that trope in a lot of Japanese stories of, you know, here's this simple item, I'm going to give it to somebody, and they'll give me another item, and then I'll give that item to somebody else, and then they'll give me another item. That's like a thing that comes up a lot in Japanese games. So they did that. I got to actually do the hangout with Elizabeth already. I completed so many requests. I got to take her to the shrine already.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a lot of quests. It's just a lot of quests right away.
It throws a ton. And yeah, I had a reasonable amount I could do during this, but yeah, it's just, I literally wrote down, she just dumps an unfathomable amount of gold into the shrine for that hangout, and it's so funny. Yeah, it's a good little hangout. But yeah, it's just a lot more. I also did, I don't know about you, but just because of where we've gotten to and my needs for hangouts, I did also a ton of Persona fusions this afternoon.
Oh, cool.
So I went through like 10.
Cool. Yeah, I did. I think I did that more in the actual in Tartarus last time.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool.
But what did you do during the day?
After I got through my 17 hours of Elizabeth work, what did I do? It's buried in here among the Elizabeth notes. I spent some time with the bookstore couple. Again, this was an in-between hangout, not to the next level, but I did that because I want to get back to them.
I did them too, and I got it to 9.
Nice. Okay.
I just decided, this was one where I think I was like going to hang out with Maiko or something, but I had their Persona, and I figure I'm close to ending that, so I might as well.
That's fair. And you didn't have any Red Bull to give Maiko, so you were like, let me wait. Let me wait till I go to this
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that tomorrow because we're about to get a lot of Red Bull.
Indeed.
And then you have this command room meetup in the evening.
Yeah.
And guess who's joining the team? The goodest boy, Koromaru, is not only better, but he's back and he's joining the team, and he's staying in the dorm with you, and he's got a cute little wingsuit, and he's got a collar that they compare to a gun.
Yeah. Well, I did like that they were like, we can't give this dog a gun, even though they gave it to an octopus. They gave a drunk octopus a gun, and we're like, this is fine, but we can't give the dog a gun. I think you couldn't be really funny. It's cute. He's very cute in his new little getup.
Raises the question of why the evoker is shaped like a gun. Because it doesn't have to be.
Yukari wears a choker. Can't she just wear like a cool choker that they make for her?
Nope. Gun.
No.
Koromaru joins the team fully. Koromaru's better. He wants to, what does he say? This is, Iga says that basically he's saying this is his way of thanking you, paying you back for saving him. Returning the favor, yeah. I love this moment that Junpei is immediately like, all right, I can take him on a walk right now. Like, Junpei gets really cute really quick, where he's just like very excited to like not just spend time with this dog, but take care of the dog.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciate. It's very sweet.
Yeah. I just wrote down, he's so happy and cute. Like, that's just the feeling of this scene is.
Yeah.
Koromaru is part of the gang officially. His little outfit's very cute. He's happy to be there. I do like, again, Igus is not speaking dog. She is just understanding him, but understanding him enough to convey everything he's saying in very eloquent English.
Yes. And he's obviously a very smart dog because he understands what y'all are saying to him or doing for him.
Yeah, I assume with that in mind, you then did the hangout with him where you read together and he reads through all of the Odyssey.
Yes, exactly. No, so the end of this conversation is Yukari saying, well, Junpei, you can't go on walks with him right away because I signed all of us up for summer classes, and by the way, they start next week. And this is on a Saturday, so they start in 2 days.
What a bummer.
And Fuka is like, oh, I guess I just forgot to tell you.
I love also the setup of them because Mitsuru feels so bad that we may not have been able to keep up with our studies. So these are being done out of the goodness of her heart to help us keep up with our study. It's like such a...
Can't we just show her we were top of the class?
Right? We're the good little boys. We should be able to go hang out with people during the day.
Yeah. This game really does not want summer vacation to exist.
No.
It really is upset about summer vacation.
One of the leads of this game had awful summer vacations as a kid and was put into like a boarding school over the summers. It was like, well, if I can't have one, no one can.
It feels that way. It feels personal.
But yeah, we do. We learn about this on a Saturday night. What a bummer.
I can't believe they... Yeah, seriously. I can't believe they did the thing that they did with the track meet again.
Again, I'm very much with you of the idea of like, man, there had to have been some testing to say, hey, we can't have the pace of Hangouts get off too much or something.
Yeah, or maybe they just didn't want huge chunks of free time.
Yeah.
You know, Persona 5, if again, not to over compare, but Persona 5 has huge, like multiple weeks of free time in a way that this game has not.
Yeah.
And I will admit, there are times in Persona 5 where you get into the third week of free time and you're like, all right, let's keep it moving, you know?
It can be a little much. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to say that this is not, you know, a smart decision or anything. It's just, you know, it's an interesting one.
I see the reasoning of like the assumed reasoning that we're taking here, but yeah, it's a funny thing where just, as you said, it was last minute both times in a row, but
yeah, exactly.
Summer vacation, not a thing.
But that's that conversation. What did you do in the evening?
I planted with Junpei. And as I wrote down, just in case, some new thing happened with him.
God. I did that too. I planted with Junpei, but I did not get anything with him.
You'll get that.
And I did it specifically because today I was also able to plant soul spinach.
Oh, nice.
So
yeah.
It timed out really nicely with the new seeds in the shop.
Excellent.
And then we're on to our last day, the 9th. Speaking of Red Bull, the shopping channel has for 3,000 or 4,000 yen, you get 10 of one soda and 20 of another soda, which are all SP items, and I assume they're all 5 SP.
I think
but
so.
But that's still a lot of SP. Total, it's 150 SP worth of healing items.
It's not bad. It's going to make the next Tartarus run because these are definitely things you won't want to be using toward the end of the game when 5 SP is meaningless. But yeah. It's very much a great boon going into the next run.
Sure. Yeah. And plus we got spinach now too, so SP items are coming on in. What did you do during the day?
I did probably what we both did, or at least I hope we both did.
Much to my chagrin, yes. There's a hangout with Junpei, but I'm at level 9 with Maya, so I was all excited to finally have Maya again because she hasn't been available all summer.
Sure.
And then I was trying to get Maya to level 10, and then I saw the little exclamation points on the map, and I was like, dang it.
You can't pass it up? Yeah.
Did a very, very fun scene with Junpei where Junpei buys a giant watermelon and says, let's do a watermelon cracking day so that we can... Because it's just a cute reasoning, right? It's cute, but sort of selfish.
Yeah, it's it starts out... I do like that they reveal it this way because it starts out cute and it's like, oh, that's really sweet and thoughtful of you to want to make sure Ken has good memories and enjoys his summer. And then it's like, so that the ladies will love me. It's like, oh, okay, there we go. Yep.
It's both, right?
Yes.
It's the sense that he genuinely does want Ken to have fun and wants to show him a good time, but then also would like to reap the benefits of that
exactly.
benevolence.
I think especially as this whole event goes on, you can tell that there is a sincerity there to that, but it is very much coupled with the idea of but if it's going to help my love life, I'm not going to complain. That's very much on the docket for him. And
this is a very revealing scene with Junpei.
Oh,
so you go up to the roof, and I love that Koromaru is there. It feels so like the little boys just getting up to trouble on the roof because it's you and Junpei and then Ken and a dog.
The cut to the 4 of you around the thing is so funny to me. There's something so hilarious about that.
Koromaru just immediately getting into trouble is also great.
Yeah.
So Ken immediately is like, oh, are we doing a watermelon cracking thing? Because that's for little babies, and I'm an adult who drinks coffee at 8 p.m. And then they convince him basically by being like, come on. And he's like, well, when you put it that way.
I guess.
And they decide to have some fun and crack open a watermelon. Koromaru adorably wagging his tail the whole time. But then Junpei gets all personal and says that he used to play baseball, and this is his Little League bat, which explains why he also uses that type of weapon in combat. But I said, this is his Little League bat, and it's a special Little League bat. And kind of Ken, you are like, are you sure you want to use your special Little League bat to crack open a watermelon? And he's like, yeah, it'll be fine. But Koromaru is the smartest boy and stands next to the watermelon so that he doesn't use his special bat. And that's very sweet. But then they need something to break open that watermelon, and they jokingly say, what about Akihiko's fists? And lo and behold, Akihiko walks in and goes, what about these guns? And then blows up a watermelon with its punches.
No gloves, no protective equipment whatsoever. Just right hooks a watermelon and demolishes it into perfectly edible pieces, may I say.
Mm-hmm.
The man has power and style. That's impressive.
So he kind of steals Junpei's thunder because Ken loves him and he's amazing.
Yeah.
Because he's the best. And Junpei is a little embarrassed, right? They eat watermelon, but then afterwards Junpei says he's embarrassed and he kind of feels all over the place right now. Which is like, it's just it's nice. It's good insight into this character and who he is and what he's feeling.
Yeah.
And then we also get little bits of who Ken is and who Koromaru is. And yeah, it's just a really good scene. It's overall a very, very good scene. It's wild to me that these are optional.
I think such a wonderfully revealing in layers scene, because to that point of like, yes, I agree with you. There's sincerity to Junpei's offer. Yes, there's that other level of it being him wanting to impress the ladies. I think there's a deeper level of Junpei's desire to impress women that is starting to also sort of reveal itself here with the way he feels bad about himself in this case as well. And so you're getting all that together, and it's like, oh, this is actually a pretty complex look at this character around what feels like a very juvenile scene. And it's handled really well. Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
But that's basically it. You get some charm, and that's the end of that scene. Then we get a little conversation with Akutsuki, who's just there to basically check up on the dog, make sure the dog is okay. And also, by the way, everyone go to the hospital. So this is this thing where he says, one by one over the next week, you should each go to the hospital and you get just a routine health checkup to make sure you're okay, because you're using personas and fighting demons, and maybe we should make sure you're all right. Which is a reasonable thing.
Not strange. I do kind of like the idea occasionally here where they are like, this is probably taking a toll on us. We should be considerate of that.
Yeah, it's very thoughtful. And then, I bet I know what you did in the evening.
I just went up to my room and studied. I didn't see anything worth doing. Yeah, no, I went to Koromaru out for a walk, of course.
Yeah, I'm so excited that this is a thing.
Yeah.
So you take him on a walk. I ran into Kenji. Did you also run into Kenji?
I also did, which I assume is just the default then, because I considered reloading because I'm like, I've already hung out with this guy. I'm good. But you run into Kenji and you get a couple of points there.
Yeah. And so that's cool. That's cool that it gives you, I assume you'll kind of grow closer to Koromaru by doing this, but also you get social link points with a random group. That's neat. I don't know how functionally useful that will be necessarily, if it's going to be relatively random and you might not need them and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, it's a cool mechanic in my eyes, generally speaking.
No, agreed. I don't know if there is every calendar night is assigned a certain person, or every day of the week that you can take them for a walk is assigned a person, right. Or it is just like that night it's this person. I don't know.
Or if it's just Kenji every time.
If it's just nonstop Kenji, because who doesn't want more Kenji in their lives?
Exactly.
The teacher who he was.
Teacher who he ran out of school.
Yeah. Spoilers. Anyway, I think it is a fun benefit. It is a nice way to, I think, it would be very silly to try to integrate only those things with Koromaru that you're doing with other people. So I like the idea that it's like, hey, it makes sense to have to take this dog on a walk at night.
Yeah.
And it's a cool little benefit. Yeah.
Although, to be fair, we were literally introduced to Koromaru by learning that he takes himself on walks every single day. So maybe you don't need to.
We're less there for him and he's more there for us. It's more of a, like I like to say for my dog, like I'm Loki's emotional support human rather than he, my emotional support animal. I think we're just like along for the ride with Koromaru, which is why we're able to hang out with a friend while he goes off on his own and is fine.
Yeah, exactly. And then he comes and picks you up.
Yeah. He's like, okay, playtime's over now. We got to go home. It's almost bedtime. Yeah.
Oh, I like this dog. That's the week, though.
Yeah.
Jonathan, I think we're going to kick Miyamoto to next week because you said next week's going to be a little more open.
Sayonara, Miyamoto.
So
yes.
if you haven't figured out or maxed out Miyamoto yet, we are going to be talking about him next week. Absolutely, positively. There's no locking it in.
Absolutely nothing.
Jonathan is the host next week, so I take no responsibility if it doesn't happen. It's all on him.
We'll see what happens. I don't know, man. A week is a long time.
Do we have any questions or comments this week?
We do have a few, but I genuinely also think just maybe in the best interest of time, we hold them for next week too, because I do think we'll have some time to get into a couple conversation points, especially just off the back of having a little more free time. So yeah, let's chat about that stuff there. Thank you to everyone who did write in. We have a bunch over at the Patreon. Thank you to everyone who I did put that call out for. I do very much have these written down and planned for next week. So appreciate them.
Yep. Yeah, next week is funny because we're going to be doing 8 days. We're going to be going from August 10th to the 17th, but a lot of those days, a few of those days are sort of a time skippy sort of thing. So not a thing that we're going to need to spend a ton of time on. So we will have time for questions. We'll have time for Miyamoto finally. And we'll get into whatever else we do that week.
We'll see.
We'll see. But before then, pop quiz.
What have you got?
Oh, I have a fun one, I think.
I bet you do. All right.
So, for anybody who listened to the first season of Take Your Time, I used to do this thing where on a Palace week, I would do a treasure quiz, where I would look through the treasures and quiz folk, do a pop quiz about the treasures, which treasures you picked up, throw a false one in there, whatever that was. I haven't really been able to do that with this one because the structure has been so different. You don't have treasures on palaces or on full moons. You can go up and down. It's structured a little differently. The treasures themselves are not tailored to each section of Tartarus in the way that they were in each section of a palace or each palace. But this week, when I was going through Tartarus, or technically end of last week, when I was going through Tartarus before the full moon, I came upon a set of items that you picked up just from treasure items that you then sell later that had this consistent naming convention that I was very much tickled by and very much enjoyed some of the names of. So I have for you 6 names of items you pick up in Tartarus, in this latest section of Tartarus that we just did. But one of them is fake. So I'm asking you, the viewers out there, which one of these is not a real Tartarus treasure? You ready, Jonathan?
Go for it.
I know you have your psychological analyses and processes for determining these fake items.
Oh, sure. The answer is not what I actually know to be true. It's what I think your mischievousness is leading to. Absolutely.
Exactly. All right. We have Saddle of Aggression, Arrowhead of Control, Mirror of Grief, Shackles of Depravity, Necklace of Fantasy, and Balloon of Feuds.
I will say I think the Shackles of Depravity are something you can buy online. I've definitely seen those advertised, but other than that,
Once again, I'm going to read it one more time.
Go for it.
Saddle of Aggression, Arrowhead of Control, Mirror of Grief, Shackles of Depravity, Necklace of Fantasy, and Balloon of Feuds. I'm going to just go ahead and say Balloon of Feuds is correct. It is a real one, and I only made this list because it is so freaking funny that one of the items you pick up is called Balloon of Feuds.
Okay, so Balloon of Feuds is not correct as the answer. It is a
No.
Okay, yes.
It is a real thing you can pick up in the game.
Incredible name, Balloon of Feuds. Yeah.
This only exists because that is a real item. I just wanted to tell you that one of the things you pick up and sell is called Balloon of Feuds.
I probably saw that name while I was listening to a podcast and playing through Tartarus and didn't think twice. But it is a fantastic name. Yeah.
Anyway, so those are the others. One of them was fake. One of the ones I didn't just name is fake. Yeah. Let us know what you think. I'm at Tom R. Marks on social. He's at JM Dornbush on social. You can email your answer to dornology@gmail.com. You can leave it in a comment on youtube.com/dornology. You can go to patreon.com/takeyourtime. Join us there. Leave an answer there. We'd love to hear from you. And also just let me know, which one of these items would you most like to pick up off of the ground in a creepy tower? I don't know. To be frank, Balloon of Feud sounds fun but dangerous. We'll see. But we love hearing from you. So please let us know what you think the answer is. And if you are liking the show, subscribe, leave a good rating, give a thumbs up, do all those things. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your dad, whatever. We very much are grateful for all the support we get. And if you want to support us directly, you can always do that at Take Your Time, at patreon.com/takeyourtime. I think that's about that.
Tell your persona-loving aunt and uncle about this show.
Yeah. Tell your weirdly sentient dog.
Are you at a wedding? Just bore people with stories of this podcast.
I was at a wedding this past week and did talk about my podcast a little bit. So
amazing.
There you go.
Look at that. Yeah.
Anyway, Jonathan, you got anything else for us before we go?
I really wish I did. What did I start the show with? I feel like there was something I set up that I was supposed to cap on and I didn't.
The 60 minutes, that's for the bonus episode.
Oh, the 60 minutes. Yeah, you're going to have to pony up some cash if you want to hear about 60 minutes, my friends. Come on, please. Yeah, it's funny. I do actually have my list of shows, but now I kind of do want to think through if there's a 60 minutes-esque way to do it. You know, I'm not going to pitch this one because it would actually be really hard. It's 24 because you would have to literally live through every minute of that game.
I mean,
to make it worth it.
I kind of love that idea.
That's so much, man.
And then we can do a podcast where we release a new 1-hour episode every hour for an entire day.
That's just a recap episode, a series of 24, which does kind of work for this show, I guess. Well, if we ever pivot into weirdly Fox dramas are our thing. We had House, we got 24. I'm sure we can work Prison Break into this whole thing. That's all.
Well, you'll have to join patreon.com/takeyourtime to find out.
For my mid-2000s Fox drama recap podcast.
Yeah. And until then, thank you very much, everybody. And we will seize you next time.
Hey.
I'm trying it out.
Yeah, we're going to seize you.
So long.